Assalamu alaikum, family, peace, healing, and a light, and welcome back to another episode of Healing with Angelica's podcast, where we discuss all things healing. And of course, if you're new to the show, welcome, beautiful souls. On today's episode, we have a returning guest joining us today, my good brother Demetrius X, as we'll be discussing today's topic. Everyday relationships, strengthening daily bonds with self, God, and others, part 2. Brother Demetrius, welcome, and thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
I am well, sister. Thank you for having me a second time. It's an honor and a privilege. I just want to greet the family, of course, with the greeting words of peace and paradise. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, bearing witness that there is no God but Allah and that Muhammad is his messenger. Assalamu alaikum to the family.
Wa alaikum salam, good brother. It is a pleasure to have you back on the show to discuss this beautiful and well-needed topic today. So I know most of my viewing audience do know who you are. However, just for those who may not know you, I'm always going to ask, do you mind letting our audience know just a little bit more about you?
Um, I'm gonna try to say most of everything I said last time because you threw me
Okay.
off with that one. But um, I'm your brother, first and foremost. Been in the Nation of Islam as a registered member for over 3 years now, in the student ministry in the Nation of Islam. Been blessed to be a part of different online platforms, mainly the Master Call, um, who some are familiar with, some are not, but it's a study group, you could say, book club type of platform where we dove into the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan through various books. Helped bring a lot of young brothers and sisters and older brothers and sisters into awareness of the nation, get registered in the nation. Um, that's all I really have. Just a student of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Anything that I have to share today, in continuance of our previous broadcasts, that's where it's coming from, being a student of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who is the national representative of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who is the eternal leader of the Nation of Islam.
Yes, yes, yes. I love it. Praise be to Allah. All right, let's get started on today's topic, everyday relationships, strengthening daily bonds with self, God, and others, part 2. And please, for my audience today, do not hesitate to put any question you may have for our guests in the comment section below. Please ask those questions and participate, y'all. We're not going to be the only one talking to each other. So
That's
participate,
right.
ask some questions. This is a good topic, right? So, in our fast paced world, it's easy to overlook the most important relationship in our lives, our connection with God, ourselves, and those around us. Strengthening these daily bonds can bring deeper meaning, purpose, and fulfillment to each day. This show will explore practical ways to nurture this relationship, offering simple yet impactful steps to build stronger connection with God, cultivating self love, and fostering a meaningful interaction with others that are around you. By focusing on these everyday relationships, you can create a life that is filled with love, faith, and authentic connections. All right, and that brings me to my first question for you, brother Demetrius. So let's go to the root, right? Let's define like what
Let's do that.
is what really is a relationship? Could you define what a relationship is?
I would be happy to, and I think that that was something that needs to be addressed um, during our first one. So when I looked into that word, I'm just gonna pull up. I'm gonna pull up the definition of relate, and
Mm-hmm.
like you said, get into the root. I'm gonna go into the etymology definition, which goes into the root of the words in the language. So, relate is a verb, and it says to recount or tell, or to refer, report, um, bring back, bear back.
Mm,
So, but the first thing is to recount or to tell, to report. So it's about communication.
mm,
And ship, ship being a what's the word? Is it suffix? I forget. I think it's suffix though. But ship is basically talking about what kind of thing that it is that is attached to what's before it, the prefix. I want to pull it up exactly because I don't just want to talk like I don't know what I'm talking about.
mm.
So,
Go right ahead,
I
brother.
saw it earlier and I wish I had it saved because I did want to get into this and I'm glad you asked that. But while I'm finding it, I'm just gonna expound on relate. So that is basically the root of all relationships. You're relating, you're communicating with the person that you're, metaphorically speaking, on that ship with. So that's why in our first segment, when we got to dive into this subject, talking about our relationship with self, and then that being most important and coming first, and being hand in hand with your relationship with God, and those two ultimately strengthening and helping guide you with your relationship with everybody else. Is all about communication. That's why prayer is such a vital pillar in Islam, which Islam is just submission to do the will of God. We have to be in constant communication with Allah, with God, excuse me. So, relationship, I was getting so deep into it, I forgot to pull this up here. Here we go. So, ship is a word forming element meaning quality or condition or act, power, skill, office, position, relevant to whatever you have in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, when we don't have good communication, and I'm sure any of us could bear witness to this at this point in our lives, if we've lived long enough to where a relationship has gone bad and we had enough wisdom to see something that went wrong with it, a lot of our issues that we have today are based in communication,
Mm-hmm.
either lack of communication or poor or improper communication. So, it's very telling when you have the captain on the ship not communicating to the crew members, not communicating to those on the whatever that's called at the bottom of the ship where they're doing the mechanical work. There's no wonder why this ship is not getting anywhere. And we
Mm-hmm.
out in the middle of the sea going in circles. The communication is bad or non-existent. So that's what I would based off of that root definition of relate. That's really what it's about. And we're all in relationships with each other, whether we like it or not, because we're here on the planet together. We got to communicate what it is that we're doing amongst each other.
Absolutely. I love that you brought up the word communication. I believe that that is a great pillar when it comes to relationships. A lot of the times, it's just that we have a disconnection in communication. We're not communicating with each other in the right manner and or even in the right way for us to even build up in these relationships. Sometimes it's just having or engaging in just a conversation to where you're able to build up a relationship just off finding something that you guys have something in common. And just with that, you're able to build a relationship just off off communication. So I'm glad you spoke on that. We're gonna get a little deep on that as well. I believe communication is something big that needs to be talked about. It takes me to my next question, though, for you. And again, if you guys have any questions, please put it in the comment section below for us. Now, I know we spoke on building a relationship with self through self love. However, how do we not over indulge in self to where we may hinder our relationship with God and others? When I say that, I think of the word vanity.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. That's definitely one word that can be tied into that overindulgence. I think mm, I wanna pull from an example that I've heard from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I would say that overindulgence can oftentimes come out of confusion of self-love, because there's the proper understanding of self-love, and then there's what's portrayed a lot out in the world now as, just pampering yourself, or becoming that vanity that you talked about. And the minister has given us a powerful lecture that I've studied a few times, called All is Vanity, where he goes into, the just self glorification. And that's what we have to try to steer ourselves away from. It's one thing to think highly of yourself, and you should, um, because God is trying to tell us and really reteach us again how valuable we are as his children when we conduct ourselves right, and when we're not too big headed, as we say. But it's not about having that knowledge of self that he gave us through the most honorable Elijah Muhammad for us to give full of ourselves. Is for us to have the confidence that was taken away from us,
Mm-hmm.
and to help instill it into our brothers and sisters again as well. So overindulgence is me uh being too deep into that energy of, if you're not on my level, or if you're not thinking the way I'm thinking, stay over there and do it. I'm just focused on me and mine. And you know it's a lack of seeing the bigger picture of why it is that we're trying to accomplish whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish in life. Whatever it is that Allah is placing on us, we have to keep in mind that it's for the greater good, it's for the whole of our people. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, no man can rise above the condition of his people. And I may have paraphrased that a word or two, if not perfect, but that's the principle that keeps us away from that. We can't get, and it's difficult sometimes because we all have a lot going on in our lives, but we can't get so wrapped up in our difficulties or our successes
Mm-hmm.
that we lose sight of what's going on with the people around us. We're all here. We're all here with a mission to each other. That's what the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, has been such a beautiful example of, really, with his entire life, is being of service to others.
As you were speaking and as I'm listening to you, I thought about the word just being humble
Mm,
and how we are able to, the way we're able to not overindulge in self is to be humble. Humility is such a beautiful characteristic that I believe we all should have, because there's a point where we do build up our relationship with Allah God, And I think he extracts this confidence within us. I call it confidence.
That's right.
Um, he extracts this confidence within us that brings us to a certain state of eminence, to where we can still be humble, but also still be proud and confident and have hope. Unfortunately, our people have lost hope. So if they have lost hope, they don't look at themselves in a certain light. They don't look at themselves with love. So because they don't look at themselves with love, they don't look at others with love. And that's how they're, unfortunately losing these connections with God, self, and others, because of the way that they're looking at themselves and perceiving themselves in the world. So I'm glad you brought that up. That made me think of just being humble at all times. And, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is such a beautiful example of just being humble. He's such a humble man. And just everything that he has done for us, like, he
Come
he
on.
he's he's in that state of imminence. He's always been in that state of imminence, but he still looks at us like his brothers, his sisters,
Right.
no matter what status that Allah has raised him in, and that makes him the powerful man that he is today. So praise be to Allah. So that made me think about something else as well, right? So just with just with us wanting to build these everyday relationships with self, others, and God, of course, it takes me to, okay, um, self love, us not understanding and knowing ourselves. But I always going to, I think knowledge of self is just key for everything.
Yes.
Like, it's just like, boom, there it is, right? But I still want to expound more on just the reason, like why. And I know I probably talked about it before, but I think there's no exhaustion in this question. Just, why is this so important and so in depth that, we come to the knowledge of self and learning ourselves and understand the love that God has for us in order to continue to build our relationship with self, God, and also others.
So basically, the importance of knowledge of self
Mhm.
in those aspects. Um, I wanted to say too, just speaking of my teacher, my father, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I wanted to wish him and Mother Khadija Farrakhan a happy 71st anniversary of their marriage today. All
Praise be to
praises due to Allah. 71 years. That's an example of a healthy relationship.
yes.
That's an example of good communication
Ooh,
and a
Lord.
strong relationship with the God
Mm,
and others. Because a lot of times, I don't know how many more times or less times it is, but our relationships with our spouse, our significant others, if we not messing them up, it's other people that's messing them up
mm.
because we don't know how to balance those other relationships. But not to get sidetracked, knowledge of self. Uh, where's that book? I like to do the show and tell.
Ain't nothing wrong with it. Go
Got
ahead,
a
bro.
few of them sitting beside me. None. It doesn't hurt to show this one again. This is the knowledge of self manual right here that Allah gave us for the black man and woman, and really all of humanity. Message to the black man in America. Knowledge of self produces love for self.
Mm,
When you know about a thing, know how a thing works, not only does it give you a greater understanding of the value of the thing, in our case, our very selves, our very being. So you know how to treat it, you know how to keep up maintenance with it. And because it's you, this beautiful flesh that Allah has put us in and the spirit dwelling within it, you see a greater desire to take care of yourself, and ultimately that translates into our treatment and our concern, our
mm,
genuine concern for our brothers and sisters. And as we touched on in the last interview, you also will turn to your creator, to your God, and be so much more grateful and more desirous of finding out more about God, strengthening that connection to God, because knowledge of self, as we've said, is akin to the knowledge of God. So
Mm.
you can't be learning about yourself truly and not be learning about God. So that relationship is strengthened at the same time, regardless. And then you come to understand this is my source. It's not just a separate entity that created me. Oh, thank you. And I love this. I'm appreciative of you. No, you're supposed to become one.
Mm-hmm.
This is that's the source of that spirit within you, the life around you, so if you study properly your knowledge of self, your origin in this universe, your place in this universe, particularly us as the black man and woman of this universe, the gods of this universe, rising back into that understanding and uh proper exhibiting of that power, minus what we talked about, the getting too full of ourselves and not seeing the need to use that power in a form of unity for all of us to benefit from, and not just for me to sit on the throne and say, oh yes, I'm the black man, I'm God. I No, it's not about racial superiority, it's not about brother Demetrius superiority. That's not the God. When we come to learn more about him, that's not the God that we serve.
Mm.
He's beneficent, he's merciful. Mercy, the Quran says, he has put on himself mercy. That's undeserved kindness, is one of the definitions of mercy. You know, he serves us, which is why we are commanded to be in service to him and his cause and his way of life, because he created all of it.
Mm.
But he loves us. Um, I think I'll pin that there. But I think I made the point, inshallah.
Yes, yes, yes. I love that. I love that. Understanding, I like how you stated that, getting to know yourself, you'll also be getting to know Allah God, because that's where your origin is. Understanding yourself is going to take you to that origin of just who you come from, where you came from, and how and why you were created. Like, it gets in depth into that once you take that time to get to know who you are and yourself. It's just so imperative in this time, because we see a lot of our people, they're, unfortunately, it's like they're losing their minds. Like,
Yeah,
they're not stable, they're unstable. And I think a lot of the times the reason why they're unstable is, of course, because they don't have the knowledge of self, but also because they don't have the knowledge of self, they don't have hope, which means they don't have a purpose. I believe knowing your purpose in life is so important to understanding why you have to continue to strengthen relationship with self, God, and others. So do you mind just expanding on the reason why us knowing our purpose is important in building those relationships?
yes, ma'am. And this has been circling around in my head recently, because I was talking to a sister of mine, and she asked me what my purpose is, because I was talking about purpose and how the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as so beautifully taught and demonstrated by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, helped me to find my purpose.
Mm.
And I just summed it up shortly and said that my purpose, as far as all that I'm striving to do right now and for the rest of my life, uh, my purpose is to help our people come to God and to make sure I don't neglect to help myself in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And that simple answer that I simplified it in, which is in line with what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has reminded us in different ways, but in one main way that the FOI and the MGT can bear witness to, our purpose is to deliver our people to the Lamb of God.
Mm.
And same thing. So the principle that we're talking about, it goes back into knowledge of self. It has to start there. I mean, evidently, mathematically, because that's a that's just there's proof in that from the brothers and sisters of the Nation of Islam. We've been the most successful of reforming and resurrecting what the scripture has referred to as a dead people. And after the fall of the Nation of Islam in 1975, after the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's departure, did it again,
Mm.
thanks to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And that hasn't happened where we've had an organization, or of course, the Nation of Islam is more than an organization, it's a nation, but an entity that is here for the benefit of Black people in particular and re-educating us and retraining us. There hasn't been one that our oppressors have destroyed that has then been resurrected
Mm.
to its same glory or even greater, as we're becoming even greater. So I just say all that to say is some proof and some evidence that that knowledge of self that we were given is a very necessary ingredient in that. What was the question again, sister? I lost my train of thought just a little bit.
No, I actually like that question just came up in my mental space. And I believe basically I was asking just why was it so important that we know our purpose in order to
Purpose.
continue to build on our everyday relationships.
Yes, ma'am. That so the purpose is important because again, just that general explanation of it to deliver our people, to help guide our people back to that source, God, guide them into righteousness. And again, not neglecting ourselves, which we can find ourselves doing at times,
Mm.
which is okay because it shows at least that you have that love and hopefully a genuine concern for the people and not just a duty driven by obligation. You know, oh, I got to do this. Allah did this for me, so He raised me up. I owe Him this. I got to do this. But
Mm.
the love, the genuine concern for the people has to be there.
Mm.
So it has to be there for yourself first. And knowing that that's all of our purpose, it doesn't take away from anything. That's what I think needs to be understood in the answer to that question. If that's our purpose, and if we know that that's our purpose, if we can agree to that every human being's purpose on this planet right now is to bring themselves and the people around them closer to God,
Mm.
that doesn't take away as this world would like to make it seem from what you have going on in your life.
Mm.
Oh, I can't, no, my purpose is to do this in this field of business. I'm an architect. I'm this and I'm that. Yeah. But for what? In the grand scheme, for what?
Mm.
What are you designing these new types of structures, building these planes? What are you studying these organisms? What are you doing all this for?
Mm.
Is it to advance the people? Is it to help make living a life in accordance with the law of God easier? Is what you're doing going to help the health of the people
Mm.
so that while we're striving to better our relationships with each other, better our relationships with God, that we don't have to worry about being poisoned because the food is in control of the enemy, our transportation is in control of the enemies of God, I mean, who are making themselves very plainly known today as things continue to get more chaotic.
Mm.
And as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has said, the mask of civility is coming off of the enemy. They're telling you straight up to your face, you know, that's that's how the purpose ties into all three of those relationships. It has to it doesn't have any choice but to benefit them
Mm.
unless you're doing it for vain purposes.
Mm.
You just want to get money and die, as they say.
Mm.
That's what I'm here for. Now it's advancing a little bit. Yeah, I want to leave something for my children. Yeah, that's cool. That's gangster. That sounds honorable.
Mhm.
But what about the people that your children are going to have to live with? Do you want them to continue to be a target of envy?
Mm.
So that money that you left them is going to put a bullseye on their back for them to get robbed and killed because the people around them don't have knowledge of self, appreciation for self in this instance being the self with a capital S, talking about your brothers and sisters too. That's your other self. You know what I mean? What example did you set for them? You could do all these things that Allah has gifted you with that are all part of your purpose as well, but you have to see why he gave you that.
Mm.
Why did he put that idea in your head? And so you either going in one direction or another with it, the right one or the wrong one.
Mm. 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 Exactly. And just knowing that is why we should understand and know our purpose as well, so we can continue to build on these everyday relationships. And if you are enjoying this episode just as well as I am, we're going deep into part 2, more settled and more intimate in understanding our everyday relationship with self, God, and others. Please, please, please show your support by texting the word donate to 937-313-2466. And if you are enjoying all of the episodes here on the CTG Broadcast Network, please show your support as well. Information to donate will be shown on the screen below. I love you all. Now let's get back to today's episode. Everyday relationships, strengthening daily bonds with self, God, and others, part 2 with brother Demetrius X. Praise be to Allah. Thank you so much for breaking.
Alhamdulillah.
Yes, thank you so much for breaking that down for us. So, I just want to ask, because we live in this world that is so automatic, we're so on a go all the time. We haven't had no time to sit and rest and to even think about building any relationship, because the way that the world has set us up to be, we're just on a go all the time. And I think that's really, really hindering us to even have time to build relationship with soul, God, and others. So, how or what is your thoughts on how we can balance time with God, self, and others in this busy, busy world?
Mm, mm. The struggle for balance.
Yeah.
which I believe is study guide 4. And this show and tell again, beautiful book. The study guides that we go into each and every Friday in the Nation of Islam, self-improvement study groups. Um, I'm just double checking while I said it, just so I can fact check myself. It is study guide 4. Praise be to Allah. Um, that and that's real. What you're saying, it is very much a hindrance to us, the way that our society has
Mm-hmm.
intentionally been set up to operate and run in a way to where you're always busy. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the fast food restaurants that we have, a way of life was produced along with that, to where you just going and grabbing some food real quick on the go because you don't have time to have a real sit down and eat some good wholesome food. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that had to come with that, to where it's convenient. Everything is convenience today. Fast moving. You need this quickly, so it's convenient. Um, but it's killing us, and it's also killing our relationships, because a lot of us don't either have the time. Really, it's just a matter of making the time, which
Mm-hmm.
I think is the answer you're looking for. So I'll
Yeah.
get into that. But either we don't know how to make the time, or we don't see the importance of making the time to slow down for a minute and have an intimate conversation with ourself, our God, our family, our community. You know, we think that we have to squeeze these important moments of discussion that are very much needed. Oh, how am I doing right now? I got a lot going on, but how can I be juggling this better? Talking to myself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, self communication is something that I hope wasn't unintentionally left out of thought when I talked about, just the definition of a relationship earlier. Talking to yourself is very important, and crazy people don't talk to themselves. like like
Okay.
we like we think sometimes.
Yeah.
Intelligent people, people who are in tune with themselves and with the God, communicate with themselves. You know what I mean? That's what planning is. How is this going in my life right now? I think I should consider doing a little bit more of this, a little bit less of this. Or
Mm-hmm.
I've been neglecting my charity here. Now I'm going into the pillars of Islam. I've been neglecting my prayer. You know what I mean? I haven't been fasting.
Mm-hmm.
That's why my discipline is weak. And I find myself giving too much energy and time to this when that's not serving me, you know. But making that time is as simple as, really, I would say, recognizing what you need and what you don't need.
Mm-hmm.
The the most honorable Elijah Muhammad brought us from God a message of separation, and this is scriptural. Jesus did the same thing in the Bible. He wasn't trying to integrate the people with their enemies.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Be ye separate." So, in that same token, we're separating ourselves from the ways of this world, mentally, spiritually, not just trying to build our own businesses and whatnot, but we have to separate ourselves from things that we don't need so that we can make that time. So, in these teachings, we're getting a better understanding, really, of what we should prioritize in our life. We're taught God, family, nation
Mm.
in that order. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan couldn't have drilled and still be drilling into our heads today
Mm.
the importance of family any greater than he has been in his example first and in his teaching on the subject. So again, happy 71st wedding anniversary to him and Mother Khadijah. And may Allah continue to bless their beautiful family. And um, that should be a priority of ours. Our personal family, our immediate family, I should say, and then our family, which is the whole of our people, the original people of this planet. How is that relationship? And without being redundant, because that was really the whole discussion, I think, focused on our first interview,
Mhm.
was that the relationship with self and with God needs to be given that time in order for you to even worry about or know how to maintain the relationships with everybody else. But we have to make that time. We have to see the value in prioritizing that time to make prayer, to meditate. Yeah, you have a lot going on. Oh, I got to do this, I got to do that, and this is and it's important. It's a lot of people really struggling just to uh, keep their household for their family,
Mhm.
having to work 2 and 3 jobs, having to still trying to do something to make it easier on themselves, trying to go to school at the same time, trying to learn this trade at the same time, trying to get this independent business off the ground at the same time while they working 2 jobs and doing this and that, childcare, this and that. But while you're juggling these things, if you're really shortening your life or short circuiting your brain, for lack of the word I was looking for, because you're doing too much.
Mm.
Sometimes you need to have a break
Yep.
or at least just a pause throughout each day to organize your thoughts, to pull that strength from God, to ask God for some guidance. You have to make time for it. It's not worth doing all that to maintain what you're trying to maintain if you're killing yourself.
Yes.
Sometimes that sacrifice is necessary and it's an honorable sacrifice, but it doesn't have to be a cycle that continues from generation to generation. You have to represent and instill at some point that you don't have to run yourself ragged in order to do what it is that you have to do in your day-to-day life. There is a way to find balance. So either you got to find it or you got to help your children to find it, but we should start with ourselves.
Absolutely. But like you said, it's all about making that time. We have to be aware and conscious enough to want to make that time. I believe that, we often choose what we want to do, but not what we need to do. Like,
Hmm.
we want to stay up all night and Netflix and chill, but
Right.
we need to go to bed so we can wake up on time for prayer, right?
Thank you, sister. Thank you. Because I just realized I talked to a lot of the people that's trying to be responsible and do a whole bunch of stuff, but I ain't
Yeah.
really get to the people that's just wasting time.
Okay.
So please talk to them.
we do have, we it's really this internal battle with self. We're always fighting that other part of us that want to do what we want to do, but know that there's things that we need to do in order for us to grow and exceed into, you know, a great sense of eminence. I like that word eminence. Get a great sense of eminence, of power and strength and what God wants us to be, right?
Mhm.
So in our minds, it takes, and it's going to lead me to my next question too. It takes me to why it's so important that we also build up this confidence and this great self of value and work within ourselves. Because if you believe that you are worthy, you're going to do things that you need to do to grow into a certain height, right? Because you believe that you are worthy of these things and you want these things. Some people who don't believe in their self or don't have a lot of hope within their self, they settle where they settle at, right? They're complacent, they don't care, it is what it is for them. But they also complain the fact of the matter of where they are in their life when it's simply just a shift of perspective, right? Changing that perspective. So that takes me to my next question for you. How do our perspective of ourselves impact the way that we connect with others?
Um, I think that just goes back into uh, knowledge of self and properly understanding knowledge of self in order for it to produce that self love and that godfidence, as you called it. And when you talked about humility, and I mentioned this during our first one as well, the beautiful definition, the proper understanding of humility that our brother Nuri Muhammad shared in an interview that he did recently with Nick Cannon. He said, "Oh wait. No, this was his interview with brother 19 Keys." But he said humility is not thinking less of yourself; it's thinking of yourself less. So it's you're supposed to have a high regard for self,
Mm-hmm.
so that you don't abuse yourself knowingly or unknowingly, or deprive yourself knowingly or unknowingly. So, how I look at myself now and am learning and still developing my own perspective of myself, because it's a ever learning process.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the classroom, like it says, seek ye knowledge from the cradle to the grave. We're in the classroom till death. Um, and my growing understanding of myself, not even just in the at the root of the teachings of me as a black man, but even me personally, my gifts and my talents that I'm learning about and exploring. And you know when you have a growing love for your people, because of that growing love for yourself and your God, who has enjoined on you to be a servant to your people, then you want those same things for them. I want you to know about yourself. I want you to see what gifts Allah placed in you and help you to exercise them if I can. You know what I mean? That's that's how your perspective of yourself affects your perspective of others.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be the right perspective coming from that knowledge of self. And like we said a few times now, you just have to make sure that you guard yourself and remove the vanity.
Absolutely, absolutely. Praise be to Allah, removing that vanity. I think that is also something, like I said before, because of the way that this world has unfortunately shaped us into, we find ourselves in that space, not being aware. So that's why the importance of knowledge of self is so important. It allows you to be consciously aware of yourself, of the decisions that you make, and the people that you are surrounded by, right? So you can continue to strengthen your relationship with self, God, and others, right? So before we end today's show, I had one question to ask you, and maybe you can give us some tips and some guidance, some more juice, right? So, what is one daily habit we can implement to strengthen our bond with God, yourself, and someone close to you?
One habit.
One daily habit.
Mm. For all three. Uh,
Or with yourself.
no, I'm a shoot for all three
Ooh.
because it's I'm gonna go with the first thing that came to my mind, and then if anything else comes, I'll expound on it. But we're taught the most honorable Elijah Muhammad uh, taught us that separation. It is more important to teach separation than it is to teach prayer,
Mm,
and that's not a lightweight statement when we know when we really understand how important prayer is. But he said it's more important to teach separation. So, separation, I would make a habit of, you know, that's a verb to separate something. So, we know best personally in our lives what that looks like for each of us, what I need to separate myself from. I'm sure many of us could put job on the list and try to do for ourselves, which is also at the core of the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Wa alaikum salam to all the family I see in the comments. Praise be to Allah. Separate ourselves from being binded to Satan's world.
mm,
This is Satan's world. You said that a moment ago about how this world has shaped us. We want to be specific. This is Satan's world
mm,
that Allah allowed to be shaped by Satan for a time and for a purpose. And now, by the grace of Allah, that time is up, is past due, actually.
mm-hmm.
So teaches the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Is past due. We're in what you could call a grace period right now.
Yeah.
So the more we continue to feed from and be attached to something that is past due, just like if you eat some food and continue to sip on that drink that's past its expiration date, it's only going to continue to make you sicker,
Mm,
which ultimately is why we have a sickly brain that is hindering us from having strong relationships with ourselves and with God and with each other, because we still feeding from this world. We still want to go to the club here and there. We still want to smoke a little bit, drink a little bit. Oh, I could stop when I want to. Still want to mess around with women, brothers, which is a great distraction, which is a great teaching of Satan's world. Just be loose and free, get with whoever you want to be
mm,
with, sisters as well. But righteousness is tied to the separation that we're talking about. We have to, and this is a difficult stance to take when you have a small number of people that are making the stance right now.
Mm.
I'm not going to go along to get along to fit in with the ways of this world anymore. You know that, Sister Angelica, when you started covering your hair, when all of our sisters started covering their hair and making a statement that I'm not out on display for all of these sick men that
Mm.
are sick because they're still feeding on expired food from an expired world and think that women are just meat for them to taste test.
Mm. Mm.
So it's like, why are you doing that? What you mean you don't want to go out over here no more? You don't drink. And you said you don't eat this, you don't do that. Oh, you changed. No,
Mm.
I'm separating because this world, if I allow myself to think that I can stay wholly attached to it or even stay partly attached to it, or I could get down with the, with Islam and all that. That's cool. Yeah, I'm praying. This is nice. It's helping me. It's benefiting me. I'm studying a little bit more. I'm thinking a little more clear. He told me to stop eating the pork. Yeah, I'm with that. I won't really on pork that much anyway. I might do a little chicken here and there, but I ain't really ready to let go of this yet. I ain't really ready to let go of that yet. That's why I said we know personally what we still need to add to our separation process. So that should be a habit that we make that we make that will benefit all three. And I just feel the need to add as well that we need help to do it.
Mm.
We need help. And we can't be. Can I say one thing real quick, Sister Angelica?
Yeah. Go ahead.
This is gonna go. I don't want this to go off subject, but it's on subject.
Mm-hmm.
But this whole thing of a lot of times we feel like, oh, I just need to isolate. And, you know, your relationship with yourself and with God, which is hand in hand, as we've said several times now, is important and can get you very far and is a very strong relationship. But Allah gave us one another for a reason.
Yes.
So those who are tuned in right now on Closing the Gap on the Healing with Angelica podcast, you're listening, and I pray that you're benefiting, and it's for a reason. Because the thoughts that we're sharing amongst each other, you can't get but so much from you praying and you reading the Holy Quran and you studying the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and you're not sharing it and sharpening yourself around other brothers and sisters.
Mm.
There is no such thing as an introvert.
Ooh.
I had a conversation, well, a little brief exchange with our dear sister Aneesa a little while back, who started the master call. Y'all know my sister, a lot of you, and because I've always been firm on that. There's no such thing as an introvert. That's a product of Satan's world.
Mm.
That you don't even want to be around other people because it's messing up your energy. It's throwing off your atmosphere.
Oh.
You
Mm-hmm.
ever heard the minister talk about how he carries his own atmosphere? A lot of us don't have that strength, that power yet, or are plugged into that source yet to walk around, and ours is strong enough that if something penetrates our atmosphere it's not going to get but so deep to where it affects us. It makes us just, man, I just want to go home. I don't want to be around people. Because at least at home, I got, my house set up the way I like my house. And, my atmosphere is strong in there. I'm at peace. I'm comfortable. I can think. You know what I mean? Introvert, when I looked it up and I was talking with Sister Aneesa and we came to kind of an agreement, introvert really is a verb. It's not a noun. You're not born an introvert. You've introverted, which is the noun version of the word. You've isolated yourself, introverted yourself because of the environment around you. You didn't want to be a part of it. You don't enjoy being in it too long. But we are made to be social creatures. That's in the Bible. That's in the Holy Quran. I'm gonna read a couple of these, and I just wanted to hold on. I wrote some of these down just in case it came to this, but I wanted to make sure that. But when I wrote down but highlighted, it says in the Bible, in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28, it says, "All things work together for the good for them that do love the Lord." All things work together. All things but human beings. The glory of God. We not made naturally to work together. In the book of Matthew, I'm sure most of us know this one, book of Matthew, chapter 18, verse 20, "Wherever there are two or more gathered together in my name, there am I also." In the Holy Quran, throughout it, it talks about us vying with one another in good deeds, vie with one another in righteousness, and join each other to this and that. We're supposed to help each other in this journey and be reminders to one another. Because Allah knows us. He made us. He knows those deceptive thoughts are going to come in your mind and you'll trick yourself off the path to the kingdom.
Yeah.
That's what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is. That's our brother, like you said. He made sure that he didn't separate himself in our mind by his representation of himself, that he's just the Messiah. He's just the teacher. And that's his role. And that y'all better get with the program and do this and that because God sent me a hit. But yeah, but he raised me from among you. I'm your brother. This is the prime example of a brother that you're looking at. So I just felt that was necessary to add as far as the separation, because that's what the Nation of Islam is brothers and sisters helping each other to separate together, collectively. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, "Our unity is more powerful than an atomic bomb." We say these things a lot, but sometimes we really don't think deep enough on them. I mean to
Listen, that was such a beautiful way to end our discussion on separation. I actually I wasn't expecting you to even say that or even expound on that. But the one daily habit that we can all do is to separate ourselves from things that we know we need to separate from, things of this world, like daily steps, right? Like I can say being transparent, me joining a nation, I'm still a year and a half in, but just joining a nation, it took me time to work out removing certain things of this world. It wasn't a overnight situation. Definitely wasn't. I also had to be okay with what it is that I needed to do in order to grow and build my relationship with God. And when you want to build your relationship with God, you are going to have to, and I really don't want to say the word sacrifice, because it's really not a sacrifice. It's really just you just going back into your true nature. We're going back to what Allah wants us to do. We're going back into submission to Him and not submission of this world.
That's right.
So when you expound on the importance of separation, that can mean a lot in contents, like depending on whatever it is that you personally need to separate from. If it's from that toxic relationship, right? If it's from eating pork, if it's from, just daily habits that you can start expounding on, watch how Allah brings you up to Him more and more as you continue to remove yourself from this world. I bear witness to it. I bear witness to the presence of Allah, and just me constantly, daily, just striving to separate myself by doing things that will please Him and not please the world, and how much He blesses me just from continuing doing these little things. And it's not easy. It's
That's
not.
right.
It's not easy, but it's not meant to be easy. Struggle is ordained, right?
Yes, ma'am.
It is what it is, right? But I love how you expound on that one daily habit, and that daily habit is a separation, because we're in that time. We're in that time of separation. Like, if you guys aren't paying attention with what's going on in the world right now, like everything that we see on our outer world is really what's going on within us, right? It's things that we have to tap into within ourselves, right? To really see a change outside, right? But things that we are seeing outside of us, and even things that's going on in the world, is showing us why it's so important that, like my brother I see here, Haman Matan, hope I said it right, Hamama,
I feel like it's hammam.
Hama. Like my brother said here, separation is the key. Separation is the key, right? So praise be to Allah, dear brother.
Sister, just
Yeah.
2 seconds. I'm not even gonna say nothing else. I
No,
just, I just,
explain, brother. Come on.
no, I just wanted to say that the benefit of that, the reason it strengthens your relationships in all three of those areas is because separation ultimately is going to demand replacement with something else. Most of the time, it needs replacement, or it's going to be very difficult for you to separate from something if you don't have something to replace it with, depending on what we're talking about, especially when it comes to bad habits. If you just got idle time, we know that's the devil's playground. You got to replace it with something.
Ooh.
But that's why it strengthens your relationship with yourself, with God, especially, and with other people. Because when you're getting rid of these things that are negatively affecting your life or keeping you stagnant, which is negative, you know, ultimately you're going to replace them with something that's going to bring you closer to God, give you more self-awareness, make you more compatible with handling our people, even in all of our craziness. So that's a part of it as well.
I love it. I love it. Praise be to Allah, brother Demetrius. I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, sister. Praise
Thank
be.
you so much for joining us today to discuss this well-needed topic. Everyday relationships, strengthening daily bonds with self, God, and others. I also like to thank my amazing audience and Healing Tribe for joining us today. I pray that this episode was informative, valuable, and most importantly, healing to you all. Also, be sure to share, like, follow, and subscribe so you won't miss out on any upcoming episodes on any of your favorite podcast stations. CTG Broadcast on YouTube and Facebook, and Healing with Angelica on Facebook and YouTube to help spread the light of healing to others in need. And please, please, please be on the lookout as Healing with Angelica is expanding in inshallah, if Allah blesses me, we'll see some individual separate episodes, going a little bit in depth in Healing with Angelica and
Okay.
going on a journey with me, and we're gonna tap more into that, right? So praise be to Allah.
Beautiful.
Also, yes, I can't wait. Look, I'm just just going through the flow with wherever Allah takes me. So praise be to Allah. And also, if you're ready to start your healing journey and don't know where to start, Healing with Angelica is here to assist. To get started on your healing journey today, you can book a free consultation call with me by texting a word ready to 937-313-2466. That will be a free 15-minute consultation call that include the healing journal checklist. So I have the healing journey, not journal, the healing journey checklist as well to help get you started on your healing journey. Also, be sure to join a healing tribe. Come on, join a
Oh yeah, I
healing
gotta get
tribe.
my hoodie.
Okay, come on now, to join the healing tribe and get some of this merch today by texting the word tribe to 937-313-2466. Also, my new ebook is available for purchase now on Amazon, and you can
Great.
directly purchase it through me as well, which what I prefer. However, you can text the word thrive to 937-313-2466, as well as this book we are discussing. Well, if you are ready to learn how to reconnect with self and God, this book will be perfect for you. Also, one last thing. You guys, on September 28th, 2024, in 2 weeks, I have another
Mm.
event coming up. It's called the Relationship Reset, right?
Mm.
Reconnecting with self and manifesting real love. This is an event for young women and girls. Honestly, it's for all women. Hey, all of us need a reset, right?
That's right.
So, listen, if you guys are interested and want to come and join us, y'all come down from the cities, no matter where y'all at. If y'all got this kind to come down to Dayton, Ohio now. We're a small little suburban little city, town. But I would love to have you guys a part of that. So to register, text 937-313-2466. Brother Demetrius, before we end today's show, do you have any closing remarks for our audience today?
Yes, ma'am. One thing I would like to do is just because I keep doing the show and tell. I don't think this interview I mentioned yet where to get beautiful books like this. Talked
Yes.
about the eating as well. Store.finalcall.com. Store.finalcall.com. And you could
And
go
if
to
anybody's watching, hold on, wait. If y'all
uh,
watching, put that in the comments.
please.
Type that in the comment box so other people can know. Store.final.com.
Store.finalcall.
Call.
Yes, ma'am. Final call because it's the last call to get on this train.
Mm-hmm.
Um, .com, store.finalcall.com. And you could go to noi.org to learn more about the Nation of Islam and join your Nation of Islam if you're ready, if you're thinking about it. Don't think too hard on it. Make the process, get it started. That could be part of your separation process today if that's what you've been thinking about doing. You keep tuning into Healing with Angelica and Closing the Gap and this and that. Don't think too hard on it. It's where you want to be, and it's where you need to be. So that, and of course, just thanking you again, sister. Very, and I'm not just saying it, honored to be a part two guest up here. I you may hear me jokingly but very seriously always talk about you know how Closing the Gap is legendary, or what you do is legendary, and talk about all the legends around us. And that's because it's serious. Like, we're in a time right now where we're at a turning point of humanity. going into a new direction
Wow.
for the building of Allah's kingdom. So all of these things that we are able to bring out of our mind, that he's placing in our minds, that are shifting the whole state of the world right now, which this is very much a part of that. It shouldn't be looked at as just something insignificant. Oh, it's a sister's podcast, it's cool or whatever. I got some good gems from it. Nah, everything that we're doing, this is going down in history. So it's an honor for me to be a part of any of it. So thank you for having me again.
Oh, alhamdulillah. That was so beautiful. I'm so glad
Praise be to Allah.
you recapped on that, because this is a great turning point in the world right now. Like, those that are awakened, those that know that, we are really in a serious time right now. So any way that, if there's any way that you can impact the world in any way, and like my brother said earlier, our one and main duty is to help in the resurrection of our people. That's all. That's everyone's duty. But we all have a different way of how we go about it. Allah has given us a certain talent to embrace in order to expound our, gifts to others and be able to bear witness to his presence, right? And I say it all the time, praise be to Allah, alhamdulillah. It's just the word of the day every day, because if
That's
it was
right.
him, I wouldn't be in this, you guys wouldn't see Healing with Angelica. I had to go through some things in order for me to get where I am now. So praise be to Allah. Brother Demetrius, again, I just want to say thank you again, of course, for joining me. I love it. I love today's dialogue. And please, you guys, please make sure you follow my brother on IG. I have it down. It just scrolled by. But I've been having it down on here. So check my brother out. Still Demetrius on IG. That's right? At still
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes,
my
ma'am.
brother on IG, man. Connect with my brother. I think my brother just got on Facebook, for real. So throwing some love on there too. He new to
I
the game.
did. Yeah, Facebook. Yeah, I'm up there. I'm up there. But yeah, follow me on Instagram at still Demetrius. Thank you, sister.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And I love you all. And just want to say thank you again for joining us. And we leave you all as we came. Assalamu alaikum. Peace, healing, and light.
Alaikum salam.